Hi everyone, welcome to the Star Trek stream on the Blind Press YouTube channel, and it's just gonna be me and Failure tonight. Polydub is with the Lords of the Night talking about Superman and Batman, so on him. And I think Hammer might be watching that. So it's just gonna be Failure and I talking about the pilot episode of Star Trek Voyager and inevitably probably the entire series because that's how it ends up. So how are you doing, Failure? Hi
Hey,
everyone, welcome to the Star Trek
doing
stream
good,
on the
doing
Blind
good.
Press YouTube channel. Awesome. This will be good for a post-workout. Talk about Star Trek.
Yeah.
About Superman and Batman. So, the pilot episode of Voyager is called Caretaker, and it's just gonna be Failure. It's the first pilot, honestly, that I find that's not as campy as the others. Um, it gets you right into the story. For those who haven't seen the pilot, the Starship Voyager is searching for a Maquis ship in what's called the Badlands, and they get pulled into the Delta Quadrant along with the Maquis ship. And they have to end up banding together as to make two crews into one crew and get home. So basically, there's an echo, Cult of Krill, says Pincalo. Um, how bad is the echo?
I wouldn't know. By the way, Metaphor says the pilot was 2 episodes. Yeah,
Yes, it was.
yeah,
All the
but
pilots are two.
yeah, no, normally you got the part one, part two. Notice two
Yeah,
episodes. It is one story.
on Netflix they broadcast the pilots as like a TV movie deal, so it's like an hour and a half long instead of your normal 45-minute episode, and it's like that on the DVDs as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I really liked the Voyager pilot as a standalone story because it's like most of the other Star Treks, like TNG and the original series even was really kind of campy as they tried to establish the characters, but this one I think followed more along the DS9 model where they had a lot of action to start out with right away. There was some action in the next gen and the original series pilots, but I think Voyager and DS9 are a lot more action packed and they have a lot more meat for a story than the other pilots really do. What do you think, Failure? Do you think that's
Yeah, a bit more action. I always felt like the thing about Voyager was the sense of, oh well, they're out there on their own. They really don't have any help from the Federation or anything.
yeah, they've got to like they've got to basically try and stick to Starfleet principles when there's no Starfleet to make sure that they're sticking to Starfleet principles.
Hmm.
Like even though Janeway's writing in her log, um, she can't transmit the logs, and as far as they know in the pilot, it's going to take them 75 years to get home. So that's basically a lifetime.
Hmm.
And captains, they aren't exactly young. Like unless you count the new universe where Kirk is the youngest captain in Starfleet, they've like even in the original series, Kirk was middle aged by the time he was a captain,
Hmm.
and so like they even talk about it in later episodes where it's like this could end up being a generational voyage because it's a long ass trip. um, so I like the idea that they put a Federation crew out of Federation's reach to see if they can still hold on to their Federation ideals. That was a really interesting premise, I thought.
Hmm. It definitely was. What did you think of them being in that quadrant, like the different interaction where you don't normally deal with in the other Star Trek. Uh,
I like the idea of them being put in the Delta Quadrant because they've already in DS9 they went to the Gamma Quadrant quite a lot, and
hmm
I think it was good for Voyager that they didn't put them in the Gamma Quadrant with the Jem'Hadar or anything like that.
hmm
I think it was wise that they threw them all the way into the Delta Quadrant because there's all new species that no one's ever heard of, and if they were in the Gamma Quadrant, well, everyone would be like, well, why can't they just find the wormhole and go back,
hmm
right? Like there would be no story, or there would be less of a story trying, like it would be too much like Deep Space Nine if they were just trying to find the wormhole and get back and dealing with the Dominion, right? That would just be a DS9 spinoff, really.
hmm
And I think it was probably the best move to put them in the Delta Quadrant as opposed to the Gamma Quadrant.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing I liked about the series was stuff runs out.
Yes, yes, they have to find dilithium and deuterium and stuff. Like they can't just, and they have Neelix and Kess for tour guides as metaphors. Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think about Neelix? Some people hate Neelix. Some people really like Neelix. I've never known a middle ground.
I liked him. I liked
Yeah, I
him.
did too.
Yeah. I uh I'd say I liked him better than what's her name again?
Kess,
Yeah.
his girlfriend, who's like one.
Yeah.
That's a
She annoyed
weird
me a lot of
dynamic.
times.
Yeah, she annoyed me too. Like, but how weird is a dynamic is that? Because you're dating a species that only lives 9 years.
hmm
So technically, it's not cradle robbing because she's like already grown up, I guess. But she's still like it's a weird. It's always creeped me out a little bit. The
hmm
relationship between Helix and Cass.
Metaphor says, "Oh, he's funny but annoying."
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you need a little humor from here and there. But, what did you think of like his involvement on it, even though like his role ended up, he cooked, but he still was a big part of a lot of storylines.
Yeah, see, at first I was like, how are they gonna play this? Because at first he seemed kind of like a throwaway character.
hmm
Um, basically an alien ensign Ricky. At
hmm
first, like I thought he was gonna be done in the fifth episode when his lungs got taken. Um, but I really liked how his character became more than just comic relief as the
hmm
series went on. Like it was very much comic relief in the pilot, like especially in interacting with Tuvok and what does all of this do? And you mean you people just bathe in water and then like is a like complete shock and awe over how much water they use. Like
Well, I found that interesting because I, I I've seen before like them use like the sonic showers and stuff.
mhm.
So that was interesting to see. Like, oh, okay, why, why did they?
Yeah, some of the crew didn't. Some of the crew used sonic showers. Some of them didn't. Like Janeway preferred a bath.
Mm,
You see Janeway actually taking a bath in one episode because Q shows up while she's in the bathtub.
it, you think that a crew that was trying to conserve supplies would not? not waste water.
Yeah, you can definitely tell when they've got like you can tell when they're around lots of resource-rich planets because they tend to use more resources. But
Hmm.
you do see them go into what's it called, gray mode or whatever,
Hmm.
more than once because they've run out of energy, which I like. I like that the writers thought about that.
Hmm. What did you think of Neelix choosing to leave his area? Like going with Voyager, man, he would be going away.
Um, I think at first, definitely in the pilot, uh, he was just using them. I
Hmm.
really do, and he even admits it. In I think it's a season 3 episode called Fair Trade. He's talking to a Talaxian buddy of his,
Hmm.
and he even says, "I was just using them for a warm bed and safety at first."
Hmm.
Um, but he actually found that it was nice to be needed and it was nice to have a purpose other than a junk dealer.
Yeah,
And
but yeah, he was a scavenger, wasn't he? Like he
yeah,
was.
yeah,
Hmm.
he was a scrap dealer basically. He would salvage and sell scrap.
Which, when you think about it, it came in useful as far as him gathering foods
Oh, for
and
sure.
yeah.
The crew didn't really like it, but
No.
you could tell that they were so spoiled. We have to eat viola root stew. Blah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was an interesting character for sure. It evolved from where it began.
Metaphorist says Janeway is a powerful conservative woman. Do you think she's conservative?
Um, Never really thought about it.
I never thought about that either. I like that Voyager and like Next Gen and all of them kind of stayed like you can't watch those shows and look at those characters and go they are this ideology.
Yeah, I think by that time, like maybe, uh, like it's never been anything of like, oh, I'm a Republican, or
Yeah.
like maybe by that time in the future, uh, think about it. If the planet is in peace and resources and everything, why do you really need two parties arguing with each other?
Yeah.
Like if you have no need for currency, which I never understood because there's always somebody that's going to be a glutton that wants more than the other guy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Metaphor says she stands on her own, but she is not trying to be an evangelist. She is not an SJW.
Yeah, that's I'll give Metaphorist that. It's
Hmm.
she does stand on her own and she doesn't like she's definitely a strong female figure. And
Hmm.
I guess she is a little conservative if you think about it. Like she's not fraternizing with the crew and she's like she becomes friends with the crew, but she's not like she doesn't run around and be all fool with them and like she maintains her captain's demeanor.
Hmm.
Um
Yeah. Yeah, eventually she does let her guard down a little bit, but
yeah.
mhm.
I'd say Chakotay is more of an SJW than she is.
Uh, Chakotay, most likely candidate for joining Antifa, probably.
Yeah. Well, he called himself a freedom fighter.
Yeah.
And I agree, like whether or not you think the Maquis were living in hellish conditions, which they were, they did resort to terrorism.
Oh yeah.
Um, like, and I love how Chakotay always was like very careful not to say that. He was always we thought we were fighting for freedom.
Hmm. Let's see. Fuckwad says, "How are you? How are you this far into the show without even mentioning Voyager's best character, the emergency medical hologram?"
Well, we're only 15 minutes into the show. Give us a
Yeah.
chance.
The-
But
the-
he is one of my favorite characters, I do have to say. I
yeah.
love the dog.
The only thing I hated was they always teased, "Oh, will he get a name? Huh? Will he pick a name?"
Yeah,
No, he's moving on to the next thing. All right.
it's true.
Let me see what was some of the name he adopted names such as
Schweitzer.
Schweitzer. Yeah.
Um, what else?
Van
Oops.
Gogh,
Yeah.
Kenneth Jones.
Joe.
Yeah.
He was Joe in the finale.
Yeah.
Because Tom even goes, you spent 30 years trying to come up with a name and you come up with Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I really like the doc, and I like how they have him in the pilot as like, even though he's an asshole in the pilot, he still manages to be funny.
Mm-hmm. Well, the real doctor, I mean, the human that they designed the character from was also an asshole. So,
Oh, Louis Zimmerman, yeah.
yeah. But and that was interesting to see in one episode where they had a hologram version of Zimmerman to try to figure out what was wrong with the doctor.
Yes, yes, that was a season 3 episode. I think it was called The Swarm.
Hmm.
Um, and they had to take that hollow matrix for the diagnostic program and put it onto the doctor's program.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was an interesting one, and he was such a dick. Why do you want?
Hmm.
What do you mean you want to fix him? What's wrong with like?
Yeah. Well, they got an
He's just
emotional
a tool.
attachment to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see them like kind of like, yeah, look, how about you go into the hollow deck and enjoy yourself. So that was
Yeah.
interesting to see. Like, why does a hologram need to have leisure time? All right, okay.
Yeah. Why does the hologram need to learn opera?
Yeah. Remember when he got a family
Yes,
and it
I
started out
totally
as
do.
the best, like you know, the loving housewife, the kids are great, and
Mhm.
then they get turned into just brats, and the wife is just a nag.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was interesting to see.
that was pretty funny. Yeah.
Mhm. The son coming home with uh, uh what was it? Uh, uh I forget what did he come home with. He came home
Oh,
with a like a
he came home
uh
with the cutbooch,
yeah,
the
with the
ceremonial knife for the Klingon blood oath.
mm-hmm.
And the doctor was so fucking racist. Like, he was so like, if Balana had been there, even though she like thinks that all the Klingon shit is ridiculous, she probably would have freaking deprogrammed him right there. Like, what the fuck are you talking all this shit about Klingons for?
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting to see. Uh, it it was interesting to see like early on, he had to complain that like people would just leave and leave him on. he hated to just be left on.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really amusing.
Yeah.
Like, or that, like in the pilot when everyone gets transported off and he's like, I didn't give anybody permission to leave sick bay, and he's all upset and affronted.
Mhm. It's also interesting to see whenever like the ship got invaded
Hmm.
and they tried to fight him or they tried that was pretty amazing right there. He made for a distraction a couple times.
He was a good distraction, but he was also a great plot point. Like they had lots of great episodes centered around him. Um, like really good episodes. Some of them were really freaking heart wrenching.
Yeah.
Like Latent Image, or the real life, the one where he has a family at the end. Ugh,
Mm,
fuck, that's hard.
yeah. Metaphor says he's a software system. It was a joke about leaving the computer on when you leave the office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think about the Kazons? I hated the Kazons.
Not a big fan.
Pincalo calls them Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah.
He says they look like Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah, not it definitely wasn't definitely wasn't a race that I cared for.
They could have had much more terrifying races to meet them first off.
Hmm.
But I mean, like, and that whole Seska turning over to like the Kazons, and like that made no sense because she was such a strong female character, but they hate strong women, and she was constantly being told by what's his face or Maj Kala to be quiet or whatever, and it's like no Cardassian woman would take that shit.
Hmm.
Like no, that's just bad writing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What was there an episode? Maybe I'm thinking of wrong one. Wasn't there an episode where there was a human kid raised by a Kazon, or am I thinking about something else?
No, I think you might be thinking about the TNG episode where the human was raised by the Talarians.
Hmm.
It's
Oh, I'll have to rewatch that episode. It's been a while.
called Suddenly Human.
Oh,
It's a season 4 episode.
okay.
I think it's season, yeah, it's episode 4 of season 4 of TNG.
Hmm. Oh, okay. Uh, so what other characters do we have? We have Chakotay, right? Tuvok. Well, what did you think of the introduction to Tuvok?
I like Tuvok. I really like Tuvok.
Mm-hmm.
Even even in the very beginning, like in the pilot, where you don't really get to spend a lot of time with each character because you're being introduced to all of them, but he was just so like it he wasn't quite Spock like, which is good because you can't have adult, like you can't reduplicate a Spock, and Tim Russ didn't try, but he was very like the way he was so deadpan, it just fit. Like his like even when he made jokes, like it was just so Vulcan and it was awesome. And he again is another great character. Um and he played off Janeway really well. Like you could the way that Tim Russ and Kate Mulgrew acted it, it was almost palpable when the Maquis and the Federation met back up in the pilot, and Janeway's like, "Welcome aboard, old friend."
Yeah.
And you can tell she's like, "Oh, phew!" Like, "Oh my, thank goodness you weren't like killed, you weren't discovered or anything like that." Like, and even though Tuvok's a Vulcan, you could tell he was like, I'm glad to see you, Captain. Like, I'm finally back on board where I should be. Like it
Yeah.
was really cool to see that.
Well, he was over 100 years old when Voyager started.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
This is Culture's Creole.
Yeah. He started out that episode as a spy, a on the Maquis side.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right after, like, they end up on Voyager, just walks right over to the Voyager side. Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed that it did take a few episodes for the Maquis to stop being Maquis, though. Like it wouldn't.
There was still a sense of, like, some wanted mutiny. They wanted to take over. They felt like,
Yeah. Especially when at the end of the pilot, since, well, it's a 20-year-old show, so I'm not going to yell spoiler alert, but
mm-hmm.
at the end of the pilot, when Janeway destroys the array,
Mm-hmm.
and Torres pretty much goes batshit crazy, because they've just destroyed their only way home, and Chakotay is like, she's the captain. And you can tell the Maquis crew are like, what? Right? Like, Chakotay, what the fuck are you talking about? She's the captain. Do something, right?
Yeah.
And I like that in the style, because it caused another wrinkle for the crew to have to learn.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, wow. Yeah, over 20 years old. Jesus. That's I never watched it, like, when it first was on. Like, I went from Next Generation to not watching Star Trek for a long time. Watched a little bit of Enterprise, and I mean, yeah, it was and then later I decided to binge from the beginning all the way through. Go into Next Generation. I think I started out Voyager and then Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think about the scene in the pilot of Voyager, Harry Kim and Quark? And he gets his ass gets saved by Tom Paris.
Yeah. Yeah. Tom Paris and Harry Kim, I think, complemented each other. I think the
Yeah,
characters would be a little bit boring by themselves.
I agree. But I like the way that their friendship kind of amplifies both of their personalities almost, and makes them, like, even right from the beginning in the pilot, where Tom's like, you really shouldn't be friends with me because you're an up and comer and you've got your whole life ahead of you, and I'm a fuck up. And everybody on board knows I'm a fuck up, and you don't want to hang out with me. And Harry's like, yeah, I think I'll make that decision for myself, thanks. It's like,
Didn't which character died in an alternate dimension, and then the other one came
Harry.
back? Harry?
Yeah.
Okay. How do
Yeah.
you feel about that?
That was a messed up episode. Basically, I liked how they did that. I don't like how at the end Janeway's like, just don't try to understand it. That kind of bothered me. But
Because, like, I'm like, what if he has a memory of something that happened in the alternate, but, like, he's like, hey, remember that time we did, and they just looking at him like, no, that must have happened in your alternate dimension, didn't happen in this one.
yeah. I did like that they were able to save Harry and Naomi though,
Hmm.
because that was like, and there are some episodes of Voyager that it's weird. Like before I had kids, I could watch them. They were still hard to watch, but I could watch them.
Hmm.
And after I've had kids, there are that episode and Real Life. I just can't watch them anymore.
Hmm.
I can't like being a mom. I can't watch, even though I know Naomi's not actually dead and she's gonna come back like from through the time rift or whatever. It's
Hmm.
like, no, I don't want to watch a baby die. I can't watch that.
Yeah.
um,
What other characters were there? There was I don't know. I'm trying to because 709 didn't come in until season 4.
yeah, seven came in. Yeah, season 4.
Mm.
Um, and she was. I liked 7 of 9. I was. It was a very interesting way to introduce
Oh,
that
well,
character.
we could talk about something about 709 though. We could talk about when she traveled back in time.
Yes, we could because she did travel back in time to Utopia Planitia.
Hmm.
Um, try and find a time weapon.
Yeah, but she was uh there was I forget what episode it was, but she was actually on the Voyager on its voyage away from the planet, when it first
Yeah,
launched. Yeah.
it's called Relativity, and
Hmm.
it's actually the continuation of the episode, the two-part episode Future's End, because the captain of the time ship, Captain Braxton,
Hmm.
actually, you find out he's the one that planted the time weapon on Voyager, so that Voyager doesn't go back in time,
Yeah.
and so that he doesn't get stuck on Earth.
Hmm. What did you think of at the point that he realized it was him?
I really like. I thought it was kind of cool that his underling was, I guess you could say, Starfleet enough to be like, yeah, sir, you're under arrest.
Yeah. Do you think that would be a interesting Star Trek? I know they kind of ruined it now with the STDs,
Mm.
but if they made a Voyager that involved a lot of time travel to go back to uh, correct stuff, or just to witness things without interfering, being cloaked and stuff.
Hmm, that could be interesting. I've often actually wanted to write a fan fiction of the Voyager and Enterprise crews, like kind of melding together characters from each, and Starfleet building a new type of ship that can go between galaxies.
Mm-hmm.
And the premise of that would be that the Voyager crew was having too much trouble acclimating back to life on Earth. So Starfleet decided that they were best suited for a deep space mission
Mm-hmm.
to go and explore a different galaxy. That's my idea for a, a fan fiction, but I've never actually gotten around to writing it.
If you could make a crew with any character from the universe, doesn't matter what time, what would your crew look like?
Oh, that's part of the reason why I haven't written it, because I still can't decide who. First of all, who
Who?
I would have be captain.
Yeah, which captain? Do you have uh, Picard, or which who who would you pick as captain? Or maybe not even somebody that was captain during the series. Maybe Riker.
I would probably put if I had to have the captains, like if I were to have the captains,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a feeling that Janeway wouldn't mind being Picard's first officer.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. Like, I really think that, especially if you listen to her when she's quoting him when she's doing her Borg research,
Yeah.
like she idolized him.
Just
So
don't have record there. He'll get jealous that he's
yeah,
not number one.
Star Trek Andromeda says cracked in the chat. No, I would probably put Picard as captain because he's forever the diplomat, and he would probably make better first contact maker.
Mm-hmm.
But I would probably put Janeway as his first officer and not Riker,
Mm-hmm.
because Janeway would have more of the tactical knowledge for being out in the wild, uncharted space, and she could
Who
advise.
wouldn't make the cut? Who would you keep? As we already know, Wesley's not gonna.
Yeah, Wesley's not coming. Riker's not coming. Deanna Troy's not coming. Riker and Deanna can stay together, married happily on whatever the fuck ship they're serving on.
But come on, you need Diana there to be like, I can't sense this. All right, I thought you were supposed to be able to. Your sense is broken.
I would definitely bring. I would definitely bring with me Tom and B'Elanna and Geordi. I would have Geordi and B'Elanna working together because they could come up with some really interesting shit.
No Data.
Well, Data blew himself up, so he can't come along. Stupid fucking nemesis. Fuck you. I hate that movie. Kill off Data. The bastards. Doc. I think I would have Doc come along and not Dr. Crusher, because
Yeah, Crusher. Wasn't a big fan of Crusher.
she didn't do much. Like, she didn't do, like, she's a good family doctor. Do you know what I mean? Like, she would be a great, like, Earth doctor.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not suited for your crazy ass. Like, had she run into the macro virus, those giant flying insect viruses, she probably would have run for the nearest fucking airlock, if you think about it. Like,
you wouldn't want to have a hologram Bashir, because remember they were making him into a doctor.
no, Bashir's like my least favorite doctor.
Do you remember that they were looking to make him a hologram doctor?
Mm-hmm. The LMS, I think it was called, the long-term medical, the LMH, the long-term medical hologram, something like that. But honestly, what do you think about Voyager itself, like the ship?
Wasn't a bad ship. They had everything you needed pretty much. I think it. I wonder which ship had the most transporter accidents, because I remember there was a few in not in Deep Space Nine, in Next Generation. Yeah. But this one had you had Neelix and Tuvok.
Tuvok, yeah.
Yeah.
We had Tuvix. We had honestly, I think that's the only one there was, though.
Oh,
I don't remember any other transporter accidents in Voyager.
mhm,
I remember quite a few in TNG. Well, not I wouldn't say quite a few, but more than one for sure. But I definitely think there's probably a weakness in Voyager at the same time as a strength in Voyager, and that's the bioneural circuitry. Um, because it could think faster. Like the
mhm,
computer had enhanced biological capabilities, but the gel packs they had a finite amount of spare gel packs, and as we discover later on in the series, the gel packs are capable of becoming infected. Um, so it's a strength in order because it's a faster computer than say the Enterprise had, but it's a weakness because if you're stuck out, like if you're in the Alpha Quadrant, I think that having bioneural circuitry is a brilliant idea. But if you get thrown out into the Delta Quadrant when you have only 36 spare gel packs and unknown things, then it becomes more of a weakness than a strength, I think.
yeah. I was looking through the transporter accidents log over here, and
Mm.
yeah, the only one I could find is Tuvix. The explains 9 out of a few things. You had alternate dimension transport at one point.
Yeah,
Uh,
you had two Rikers.
mhm,
You had um, the the episode where Barclay thinks he's got transporter psychosis, but there's actually people stuck in the transporter beam. You
mhm.
have Scotty stuck in the transporter for 80 years.
Well, he put himself there to
Yeah,
prevent himself from dying.
yeah,
Unfortunately, he also put somebody else in
and
there,
they
and
died.
yeah, they died, but he survived. What did you think of which episode was that?
That was called Relics.
Relics
Um,
and what series? What series?
that was a TNG episode.
TNG. What did you think of a you know old old timer coming back and annoying the new
I
crew?
felt bad for him.
Mhm. It felt like you got a legend and people are just like, yeah, get out of the way.
Yeah, Jordy was such a dick to him at first. It's like, come
Mhm.
on, Jordy, that's not you. um, I know it's not to do with the pilot, but what did you think about the building of the Delta Flyer?
About the what?
The building of the Delta Flyer in season 5 of Voyager. I know
Uh,
it doesn't have to do with the pilot, but I think the Delta Flyer was a kick-ass ship.
yeah, yeah. Trying to refresh my memory. I haven't.
It was the shuttle that they were building because they were trying to salvage, or they were trying to, yeah, they were trying to get something at the same time as another alien race.
Hmm.
And they couldn't, like, it was in a gas giant's atmosphere, and none of their shuttles would
Oh yeah, I remember that.
withstand it. So they decided to build a new shuttle
Yeah.
with like Borg armor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I I like I said, I enjoyed that like they weren't able to be dependent on any Federation uh technology out there. They had to kind of depend on their own stuff and make it up as they went along.
Scariest alien from Voyager. What do you think?
Uh, I don't remember. I remember some Voyager aliens. Let's see.
We've got the Vidians. Those were the organ harvesters.
Hmm.
We've got 8472. That was the species the Borg was fighting with.
I hated the Vidians. They like would always just pop up and uh, their whole thing was what they wanted to get organs.
Organs, skin, body parts, like, yeah, because they were basically rotting
Yeah.
while they were
Um,
alive. So they were trying to um, harvest people. And then there was the Herodians, the dinosaur-looking guys.
mhm.
There were some pretty freaky aliens in Voyager.
Yeah. I'd say the most dangerous ones were the Ferengi.
Yeah. Greed is eternal.
Mm.
That was a
Uh,
great episode. I think that's Pincalo's favorite.
yeah, I really did enjoy that episode. Just the fact that you have two Ferengi that just take advantage of an entire planet like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my I think my pick for the most dangerous or most frightening would probably have to be um honestly the that think tank. The the four aliens that were problem solvers, but they solved for a price,
Mm.
and they wanted 7 of 9. It was the leader was played by Jason Alexander, and he did such a good job in that episode of being so fucking creepy.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. That was interesting. Uh, yeah. I think I might have to like rewatch a little bit of Voyager. I just think it's been a while.
Yeah, it's the episodes that suck really suck, but um, like some of the Seska episodes, I just grit my teeth and go, okay, only 45 minutes, it's okay.
Ugh,
Because I
yeah.
fucking hate Seska. I hated her from the pilot. I was glad that she left, but I hated the way they wrote it. Like I wish that she would have just died like right away
Yeah.
instead of all this subterfuge and
Yeah.
bullshit.
I wasn't a fan of Seska either. There was nothing bad. I get it. I get, her character was kind of supposed to be not likable because she ended up being a traitor and everything, but I didn't find her character that interesting.
No, it wasn't an interesting character, and it was a very one-dimensional character. It
Mm.
was like you saw her in the pilot, and you were like, okay, she's trouble.
Mhm.
um, but I think from the episodes you can remember, I know it's not completely just pilot talk that we're doing here, but from the episodes you remember, what's the one that you liked the most?
Uh, well, the Ferengi one for sure. Uh, trying to remember, wasn't there was one with Sarah Silverman that was yeah.
Oh, that's Future's End.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Uh, it was interesting to see the doctor get
Hmm.
into experience. Oh, this is how moving around freely goes. Okay, cool.
Or when he gets shown what pain feels like.
Yeah,
That was messed up.
yeah,
I like the episode called The Year of Hell. It's a two-parter. Um, and it's where they're fighting the Krenim. Yeah, the Krenim.
hmm,
With the time ship or the time ship, the crazy alien guy who tries to rewrite history all the time to
yeah,
save his wife. That was a great two-parter. I also liked the other two-parter in season 4, The Killing Game, with the Herodians in the holodeck, where they were making them play out World War II.
Yeah.
That was a good two-parter as well, and you get to see going on. That's funny as fuck.
This series, I remember holodeck, more holodeck episodes from Deep Space Nine and Next Generation than this one. The only ones that I really pops out of my mind is like the Doctor using it. It seemed like that was more interesting than the other.
I was glad that they didn't have very many holodeck episodes, honestly, because they had the Doctor.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they did that.
But you would think they, like, I understand the urgency was to get back home. But you think that they would want to unwind and maybe,
Well,
get a little homesick and go.
They do show them using the holodeck for that. Like there's an episode in season 5 called Night where they're going through this place with no stars or anything. Nothing's happening. So they're straight Sith mail. No, I haven't gotten a chance to watch that video on Discord, but I will watch it before I go to bed. So there's a episode where they're trying to just cope with nothing and doing nothing, and Tom and Doc get in a fight over the holodeck. and they cause a power surge and blow it out, and Chakotay calls from the bridge and he's like, "What's going on down there?" And Mary's like, "Oh, nothing, sir. Just a little power surge." Because they're fighting over the fucking which program to use. And yeah, you do see them use it more as a diversion tactic for homesickness, or you see them use it a lot for training. You don't see that as much on TNG or Deep Space Nine. Like I think you see one episode in TNG where they use it for training.
Most of the training and Worf was in there a lot.
He was doing calisthenics, like blowing off steam and stuff. But like I think there's only one episode of TNG where they use it for mission planning. But in Voyager, you see of several episodes where they use it for battle drills or for planning a mission. And I like that use of the holodeck.
But you didn't like, Sherlock Holmes episodes or Wild West episodes.
Yeah. I'm called Durango. Oh, that was so annoying.
I still like Cisco, making a big old baseball game.
Yeah.
Taking it super serious. Let's see. I'm looking through a list of the top 10 of holodeck episodes. Hollow Pursuits. That's the broccoli episode where he's using the holodeck to escape and like running late for his obligations. Do you remember that one?
Which one was it? Sorry, I was looking at chat real quick.
The one where broccoli, slaps around everybody and is the big man in the holodeck.
Oh yeah, Hollow Pursuits.
Yeah,
that's a great episode.
Let's see, Fistful of Datas. That's the Wild West one.
Yeah.
Take Me Out to the Hollow Suite. That's the baseball one. The Big Goodbye, Next Generation one, 1940 San Francisco. That was
yep.
Yeah. Real Life is Voyager episode, season 3. That's where Doc gets family.
Malachite says the only Voyager episode I can remember with any clarity was when the Doc becomes a singing celebrity to an alien race. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Virtuoso, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm. Did 7 of 9 ever really use the holodeck?
Yes. At the end of the series, she used it for that stupid practice relationship with Chakotay that made no fucking sense whatsoever. The fact that they put her and Chakotay together just pissed me right off.
Let's see. Worst case scenario, Voyager season 3. Why don't I remember this one?
That one was the Tuvok had written a training program that was like a what if the Maquis mutant or mutiny, and Seska found it before she left and fucked with it so that whoever tried to rewrite it next would get stuck on the holodeck and fucking killed or whatever. It was weird.
It's only a paper moon, Deep Space Nine. That's the one where Nog lost his leg and just became a hermit inside of the holosuite.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. I can't wait to see it.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one. I enjoy it. Our man Bashir, I think that one, the crew gets stuck inside of the holodeck, if I remember right.
Yes, because and Bashir is playing Bond pretty much.
Yeah.
Because of course he is. I fucking hate Bashir so much. He annoys the crap out of me.
Bride of Chaotica. Voyager
Oh god, that
5.
was like my least favorite holodeck episode.
I don't remember that one.
That one, Tom Paris he plays these holocomics called Captain Proton. And this particular episode, there's a race of, I guess, holographic people, I guess, type of deal. And they somehow get stuck on Voyager's holodeck. And Janeway has to become the bride or become the Queen Arachnia and trick Dr. Chaotica so that they can. Yeah, it was a stupid episode.
And finally, Elementary, Dear Data, and Ship in a Bottle Generation.
Those were good.
Yeah. I don't see one episode on here, and it happens to be from Enterprise. The one where Riker is the season finale. You got an old Riker going back to watch the crew of the Enterprise. Do you remember that one?
No, I haven't. I need to watch Enterprise actually. I tried when it first came out. I tried watching it, and the Vulcan was showing emotion, and it made me very angry, and I stopped watching it. But I'm gonna try and watch it again.
It was people have mixed reaction. It was interesting. Interesting story because Riker's just in the holodeck and he plays various characters. So it's like an episode of Enterprise, but with Riker like popping up as the chef.
Weird.
Yeah. It kind of wrapped things up, and like it was supposed to explain a moment in history that like all of the Federation like looks at as important, and you know he wanted to see exactly how it happened. So it's a holodeck recreation of an episode, pretty much.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'd have to say though, my least favorite part of like if you want to talk about the pilot of Voyager, my least favorite part is that stupid recreation that the caretaker tries to do for them with the farm and the freaking, do you want some corn? Like that's just, it was just weird. Like it was completely like, I think maybe that was the point.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be weird, but it just didn't work. Like
I get it. Who else do we have? Taurus. Taurus.
yeah,
We haven't mentioned her at all.
I like Balana.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit, probably because I identify with her so much. I
Oh, you're
have
really angry.
I have a really bad temper,
Mm.
and I sometimes don't know when to shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can really identify with Balana, and it's very interesting to see, because you see the other side, like in Worf, the proud Klingon.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to see more of, like, it gets touched on with Worf's girlfriend Kaylar, that not like a half human half Klingon has trouble dealing with everything, but B'Elanna took that and ran with it, I think, the character, and it was a really interesting, like you could delve more deeply into that sort of thing, and the writer in me really enjoys character development like that. So
I remember there was an episode where they split her in two, kind of.
yes,
two different. Yeah, that was interesting to see, because it was a episode where like it showed, you kind of need both parts of your personality to be you, otherwise,
yeah. Grisella says, I found Harry was really annoying. Parts of him were, sometimes he could get a little bit annoying, but I think it was partially because he was so young,
Yeah.
and just eager.
Yeah. Talking about young, I'm glad that there was no kids in this series.
There was one.
Well, I mean, like a regular, like you had Wesley, and you had
Yeah.
on Deep Space
Jake.
Nine, you had Jake, and in this one, who was the kid?
Naomi, but she's not on every episode, so
No.
it's not like, it would be really annoying if the 6-year-old saved the day all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I like that she had a chance, like she helped save the day, but it wasn't like if it wasn't for Naomi, everything would be dead. You know what I mean? Like they had Wesley save the day way.
Yeah.
And they had Jake was annoying as fuck.
Jake was interesting when it came down to a alternate storyline where he got old.
Yes, that was a good episode. But young Jake is just like, I just watched the episode. It's in the cards where Jake tries to get the baseball card for his dad, and he gets captured by the Vorta, and he's father's the station commander, by the way. It's like, fuck you, you little fucking army brat. You know what I mean? You just want to smack the taste out of that kid's mouth.
Yeah. Another episode that stands out for me with Jake was, there was one episode where he was a little bit older, I think, and there was a woman that came on the ship that was a muse, sort of.
Oh yeah, that the succubus chick.
Yeah, but she was a muse because she helped them create, amazing works of fiction or art or whatever, that the person's skill was, But at the same time, she was killing them.
Oh shit, I forgot about the Borg children. How could I forget about the Borg children?
Yeah, I forgot
But
about the Borg children too.
again, they weren't in every episode either.
Hmm.
Like, one of the what the hell is Icheb? Icheb was in a lot of episodes, but that's because he became sort of a member of the crew. But the other kids, like, they even ended up taking them. They ended up finding their families again.
Hmm.
So they didn't stay on board for very long. Icheb was the only one that stayed
Hmm.
with them. So
Yeah, I don't really remember much about them. Nico says none of the Star Trek kids were great. Andrew always annoyed me. Uh, Alexander annoyed me. I'd say my favorite kid was probably Jake. Jake, like,
yeah,
uh,
I liked Alexander.
you liked
Um,
Alexander?
being oh,
Mm,
why are there F's going on?
it's buffering. Yeah. Let me see. Let me refresh the
I was gonna
page.
say,
See.
why are there F's? I'm scared.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's back. Yeah, it's
Okay.
back. All right. Uh,
Um. Yeah, I think the actor who played Alexander did a good job in showing that he was just a child, and even Worf is like, it's kind of an excuse because he's like, Klingon children are often difficult, but it's like, it's just,
uh, did Data's kid? Did that make you sad?
yeah, lol, yeah, that was sad.
Yeah, it was a thing where, like, oh, yeah, I want to have a kid, and they're like, you know, oh, it's a lot of responsibility, and uh, bringing a new life into the, yeah, and
Yeah.
it ended up going bad, but it, in reality, she ended up becoming part of him. No.
Mm-hmm. Because he reintegrated all of her memories.
Hmm.
And I think that's what they did in Nemesis with what's his name, B4, that other droid that they found that was kind of not working right. That was Data's other brother.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's they've got some really interesting dynamics, like in all of the series. But I really, um, honestly, I think the only time, I know we've already talked about Chakotay for a brief. Well, we didn't really talk about Chakotay, but Chakotay has a few strengths, and that is, his crew. His crew likes him. Like, he may be kind of whiny, but he was, I guess, like, they're a leader. He he was operating on a, oh shit, I gotta do your father now that he's dead. And like, I like the concept of Chakotay's character, and had they written him with a bit more strength, because they showed him, like, he had a couple of scenes in a couple of episodes where he was pretty kick-ass, but then they like dialed it back again, and it was like, come on, make up your mind. Either Chakotay is a kick-ass first officer, or he's just an ass kisser. Like, those, it was really annoying. The like, because when you've got him in the season finale of the first season, when the Maquis are like, we want things done the Maquis way, we don't want to do things Starfleet way, and he's like, fine, and he punches the one guy.
Mm-hmm.
But that one punch fucking wins the shit out of him, and it's like, really, Chakotay? You're gonna punch somebody and then you're gonna lose your breath? Like, really? Come on. or the he defies Captain Janeway with the Borg, but then when he's, visiting her in surgery, he's all like, I'm so sorry I disobeyed your orders, Captain. It's like, motherfucker, no, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Own it.
What? I gotta ask you. What? Do you think all the Star Treks were better off without any social media inside of it? You never really see any real form of besides just like regular communicator or whatever of interacting with each other.
Yeah, I think that had it like I think that had it been written to, I'm actually surprised that Star Trek Discovery doesn't have a form of social media involved.
Yeah. Probably would start a lot of fights. Everybody should shitting on the doctor.
Or, at Commander Burnham sucks. You know what I mean?
That would be kind of funny if Twitter just had characters from Star Trek interacting with each other. Yeah.
Janeway broke way more timeline laws than any captain or admiral. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I was trying to find, and it doesn't really pop up, is media used inside of the Star Trek universe. Like, there's been times like Picard was known for playing a lot of classical music and stuff like that. But wasn't there like movie nights in Voyager?
Yeah, later on they did. Tom Paris and B'Elanna set up like movie nights for people in the holodeck. Neelix did a lot of, like, I really liked the family aspect of Voyager.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember any of the
After
movies that they watched?
No, the only one that they really watched, that they only mentioned, was a what's it called? It was like a 1950s sci-fi type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And they were watching it. They were supposed to watch it in the holodeck, but it ended up. That was the episode where Tuvok ended up kind of going into this trance state and activating a key on Voyager, because he had this suggestion, like auto suggestion, planted in his head by a Bajoran, like a Maquis guy way back before Voyager even left. It was a really weird episode. I can't remember the name of it. It was a season 7 episode though. Patem Far Patame, I believe, was the name of the episode. This is Bajoran. It was in, but I honestly can't remember its title. But they did a lot of family stuff.
Let's keep with. I think there might be some technical issues, so let's get through the pilot real quick. What what else is there to cover? Like we talked about, they had to conserve a lot of things. That meant they were restricted to rations as far as food came. That must have sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically the resources. I liked how they had. I liked how they had to basically just start off right away. And they had to start off trying to um, make friends, and they ended up making enemies. And then you find out they've got, they have limited resources. And like even in the pilot, they're like, we've only got torpedoes. Like, what do we do? We can't, like, we need to use some of these torpedoes to make tri-cobalt devices to blow up the array, and now we're gonna, like, and we can't replicate more torpedoes. So that's like an interesting weapons problem right there.
Yeah. Let's see. What else was there? There was we already covered Neelix and his dusty little ship. Did they ever bring that up again?
Where they brought up which?
Neelix had his ship that was full of his scrap and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He uses his ship a couple of times as a distraction in later episodes, which is interesting. And I think he's always like, oh, I've got some stuff in my storage, in my personal storage, right? So you'd think that he still uses his ship kind of like a storage locker, the way that he talks, oh, my personal stores.
Let's see. They focused on the caretaker storyline. What was the storyline again with the caretaker? He was dying.
Yeah, he was dying, and he was trying to find somebody that he could mate with because his mate was bored with looking after the Ocampa, and she left to explore. And he ended up staying because he and his mate they accidentally caused a nuclear winter on the Ocampa's planet. So he and her were supposed to stay and take care of the Ocampa. But she left, and so when he was dying, he was trying to find compatible species to mate with, and he couldn't. So that's why they got pulled. The Voyager crew and the Maquis crew got pulled into the Delta Quadrant. What was the throwaway plot device, Fleet Admiral? One wasn't in the episode but was put in later. Yes. They do meet the female caretaker in a season 2 episode.
Yeah.
And she refuses to send them home.
Yeah. They really really had bad luck when it came to even.
They really did. Like, they find a wormhole in the 7th episode of the first season, and the other end is 20 years or 30 years in the past in the Alpha Quadrant. So it's like, well, fuck.
Yeah. There was a lot of a lot of moments they got real close and just yeah. Tough luck. And then had to be that way. If they just made it home, wouldn't have made it interesting series, I guess. Like if they made it home and just continued, like, all right, you're home now, let's keep going. Because I think a lot of the crew would probably be like, yeah, nah, I'm done with Voyager. I need to get my feet on the ground. Yeah. Who do you think would leave? Would have just like left Voyager if they got back home? I think definitely. I have to think. Uh, I think Taurus and
Taurus and Paris.
yeah, would probably leave.
Yeah, I think they would try, but I think that both of them would, yeah, because they would want to raise their child somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're both of them, like Paris loves piloting ships, and Taurus is a born engineer.
Mm.
So I think they would both get a little stir crazy after a while.
Yeah. Do you think 7-9 would have left or stayed with Voyager?
She probably would have stayed with. She probably would have tried to stay with Janeway. Because for a while she was trying to break away from Janeway, but near the end of the series, she understood. Um, I think she would have tried to stay with Janeway and help with whatever Janeway was doing, like out of gratitude, probably.
Yeah.
I don't think she would have stayed forever, but
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on the pilot or any of the characters?
um, it's probably my favorite pilot, just because I like the pace of it. I like the dialogue, and I like the way that it starts with the battle between the Cardassians and the Maquis ship. And it's like an old ass ship, and they're limping along, and they're still getting like they're still outpacing the Cardassian ship because they're flying on instinct, and it gets you in right away. It's a good for a pilot episode. It's a good pilot.
Uh, any cameos in Voyager that they like stand out for you? Like I mentioned, unfortunately, the Sarah Silverman one, but yeah, I think you mentioned the Jason Alexander one stands out for you.
Yeah, the Jason Alexander one stands out for me, and I really like the Sumkansi episode with The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Not because The Rock is in it, but it's a great episode. Them teaching Seven of Nine to fight is really angle. And I think that's the same guy that plays the Klingon general in DS9,
Mm-hmm.
General Martok. I believe that's the same actor. But yeah, I think we've touched everything, and it's getting close to 11:30.
Yeah.
So if Voyager started strong, it went to hell by season 3. No, I wouldn't say season 3. I think Voyager went. I think season 6 and 7 were not as good. I really enjoyed everything up to season 6, and even in season 6, there were some really good episodes. There were season 6 was dark. Um, season 7 had a few good episodes, but not the best. But I disagree that it went to hell after season 3. That's what happens when the Writers Guild goes on strike, says Pincalo.
Mm-hmm. I just remember there was one episode that revisited the pilot. It's from season 2, episode 3. It's called Projections,
Yes.
where the doctor thinks that what was it? The doctor
Doc
is
thinks he's
told that
Lewis
he's
Zimmerman.
he's actually Lewis Zimmerman, and that he needs to destroy the ship to wake up or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we've covered everything that there is to cover. So we're gonna wrap it up now. Thanks everybody for coming and listening to Failure and I nerd out about Voyager. Thank you, Failure, for coming and chatting with me because my other people are busy tonight. So
Yeah.
thanks for coming and having it so there is a Star Trek stream.
No problem. No problem.
And thank you guys for liking and sharing the stream. If you guys are willing and able, think about hitting up the Streamlabs. And I guess we'll see you guys all for tomorrow's Blind and Special at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this channel. And thanks to Pincalo for producing with Streamlabs OBS. So I